We live in a palace of possibilities. Okay, that's a kind of a metaphor for it. It's another way of saying we have far more potential than we're using. Okay, now I didn't tell anybody here anything you didn't know. All right, with that sentence. All right. But the palace of possibilities is a delightful metaphor because, see, the palace of possibilities represents all of our potential. It's filled with joyous rooms and rooms of abundance and success and achievement and everything else we want. It's filled with that all over the place. However, what we tend to do is stay in our own rooms. There are comfort zones, okay? Those other rooms, well, maybe we deserve to be in them. Maybe, we should be there. Maybe, we could belong there. But other people occupy those rooms. Richer people, more connected people, luckier people, maybe. People with more talent than me, or people that are smarter than me, or whatever the reason may be, those other rooms, they're for other people. I don't quite belong there. I'm in my room with my comfort zone, okay? And the interesting thing about my room with my comfort zone is it has walls on it, okay? And the walls have writing on them that I read every day. And these walls are filled with my cans and my can'ts and my shoulds and my shouldn'ts and my musts and my must-nots and all my beliefs and all my attitudes and everything, all my experiences and everything that have come to be the truth for me are written on my walls, and I see them all the time. And so if I'm going to do something new and step out of my room, I may read my walls and it says, but you can't do that. That's for other people to do. Oh, yeah, but if you do that, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Or you don't have any experience for that, Or, your mother, she's going to get on you if you do that. And so on. So these are very, very powerful writings on our walls. And we're going to talk about the writing on our walls all day long today, okay? What might be written on our walls? Well, let me say it differently. Where does this writing come from? And we're going to need microphones for this, some if I can, but let me ask, who writes on your walls?
Well, ultimately, I think we do, but we pick it up from a lot of different cultural Do
parents write on walls?
Well, they tell us things and they splatter the paint.
They splatter the paint, okay. Who writes on your walls?
I was going to say parents, or there's always teachers or other kids or friends.
Yeah, I had teachers, yes, friends, teachers, correct. I remember, I heard back in like second or third grade or something, there was the teacher, I even forgot exactly what she said, but she's talking about economics, or like finance and money, and she was a third grade teacher teaching, reading or something, okay? But she talked about it as though she knew what it was, and I don't remember the words anymore. All I can remember was big limits. Okay, only rich people do this. Only rich people, can make money, or greedy people can make money. Stuff like that. Okay, and I just remember the feeling of it. The words don't come. But see, teachers tell it. They write on our walls positive and negative. Okay, who else writes on our walls? Deanne, who writes on your walls?
I think basically parents.
They do a lot of the writing.
Old writing.
Yeah, they do a lot of writing. Go back here to Tom.
As kids, we wrote on our own walls based on how we saw the world according to our parents and those around us, and what was safe and what wasn't.
What was safe and what wasn't? Yeah, there's another way to say that is we have our own experiences. For a very simple example is you're riding your bicycle and you go too fast, you fall down and you hurt yourself. Okay, you just had an experience. Nobody wrote on your wall, but you said to yourself, "I'm not riding my bicycle fast and falling down, or I'm going to be more careful," or something, because you got something written on your walls that says you do this and you get pain. Okay, and so a lot of our writing is very helpful for us. I mean, it's quite useful, isn't it? I have writing on my walls that say, "Don't kiss rattlesnakes." And it's quite helpful. It's quite helpful. Oftentimes, the writing on our walls that seem to have come from our parents, where did our parents get it? From their parents. And where did they get it? From their parents, and so on. And a lot of times we get hand-me-down stuff that's been handed down and handed down and handed down, and it lands on us as the truth, and we walk around believing it and acting according to it, and nobody's questioned it in the meantime. It's just the way things are. Some of this is very laughable. We're going to get into some details here, but it's quite laughable, a lot of this, But anyway, Does the TV write on your wall? Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were talking the other day in one of our other workshops about what love is. Does TV tell you what love is? It portrays it all over the place, does it not? In a certain way. And so do books, do they not? And movies and that kind of thing? Yeah. When I was around 10 years old, my grandmother on my mother's side, her name was Grandma Effie, what we call her, stayed with us for, I think, about a year. And my parents would go off to work, and I'd be home in the summertime, and I'd be with Grandma Effie. And so Grandma Effie would write on my walls, okay? And she was very sincere, very sincere. And one of the things she would say to me was, don't get too excited about anything, because you wouldn't want to be disappointed, okay? Interesting thing to put on a kid's walls, right? And so I would listen to that, and she didn't say it once. She said over, because this was this the truth to her, by the way? Absolutely. Was she trying to limit me with this? No, not at all. She was trying to help me, because this is the truth according to her, okay? So she's trying to take her little grandson, and protect him from emotional pain. Don't get too excited about anything, because you wouldn't want to be disappointed, or you'll get disappointed, okay? And I remember I used to live at the time I was living in Long Beach, California, which is near Los Angeles, which at the time they had a fun zone there called the Pike. It's what it was called, roller coaster and a bunch of rides. And for a 10-year-old, that was, wow, that's what you do. And, once in a while we get to go to the Pike. But my parents would say, we're going to go to the Pike this weekend, this Saturday. And I go, oh, wow, what would Grandmother Effie say to me? Don't get too excited. You might get disappointed. And I thought for a minute, I get all worked up about this. If I can't go, I'm not going to like it. So I bought into that for a while. Now, thank God, Grandma Effie was only around for about a year. Because, you see, people are consistently writing on our walls. All over, every day, I'm writing on your walls right now. Okay? When you have conversations, you're writing on each other's walls because you're reflecting your own beliefs and attitudes and so on and so forth. And so all this gets added into thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of things on your wall, and some just going to sort of stand out, you see. But fortunately, that was overridden, or I wouldn't be here giving this, okay? I get very excited about this, and if it doesn't go well, I don't want to be disappointed, right? I want to crack my thumb, okay? When I was a kid, my parents used to say to me, I'd be sitting there eating dinner, my dad in particular would say, clean your plate, Gary. The children in Asia are starving. Okay? So I'd clean my plate. Now, notice I never questioned that, at least at the time. Oh, the children in Asia are starving. I better clean my plate. As though cleaning my plate really had something to do with that other problem. Okay? But that's what I would do. I am now 59 years old. Anybody have dinner with me last night? Did I clean my plate? Don't always clean my plate, but often I will clean my plate, even when I'm not hungry anymore. I will clean my plate. And I've never worked on that with EFT or anything like that. I've never bothered. It's not a big deal to me. But I do notice it. I do notice it. I have this thing to clean my plate. And it's a nonsensical logic, if you will. But see, we don't always act just by logic. We act by our emotions. How many of you, back here, we have another comment, question?
It's just a comment. I noticed that one of the big contributors to writing on our walls is religion. If your parents are active in church and you're bombarded with various beliefs. and without making necessarily any religious comments, there's something called the Ten Commandments, which are a bunch of thou shalts and so on. I'm not commenting on they're good or bad, but they are written on your walls, if in fact that's your religious upbringing. Thou shalt this, thou shalt not that, and so on and so forth, And so whether those are true or not, they are true for you to the extent you buy, and they are part of your truth. Okay? In the Catholic religion, as I understand it, if you get married, you're supposed to stay married. And if you don't, well, and that's part of your truth. So if you happen to be Catholic and you happen to want to get divorced or something, you have all this to deal with because you have to deal with the writing on your walls about this truth. Somebody else doesn't find that true at all. Which is interesting because, let me ask you, your version of the truth, is it exactly the same as mine? No. Is it exactly the same as the person sitting next to you? Or the person you're married to? Or lovers with? Is it the same as your kids?
or your parents. No. It may reflect your parents, but you have other inputs beside that. How many of you grew up with the writing on your walls that went something like this? Children should be seen and not heard. Okay? Now, some of us just sort of let that one go. Okay? I heard that somewhere, but I didn't hear it very much. So I didn't. This child gets heard a lot. Okay? But other people have that, and boy, let me tell you, it rings every time they need to get up in front of somebody or speak up about something or stand up for their own rights or whatever. They become the little child that should not be heard. I'm curious, as I'm talking about this, does anybody have writing on your walls that's coming up that you can share with us? Something that just shows up? Go ahead, right here. Wait, we need this.
My mom, as I left the house, used to say, "Be careful, honey."
Be careful.
Honey.
Be careful, honey.
Yes,
which means what to you?
I'm not sure. It doesn't mean much anymore. It used to mean, I think it ingrained a lot of fear, about being in the world and having experiences. That
yes.
Something bad might happen to me or something dangerous is just waiting for me.
Yes. And quite often something can get said and we can, as we talked about earlier, misinterpret. I want to do something if I can. Your first name is?
Rose.
Rose or Rosemarie?
Rose. Everybody calls her Rose.
Okay, Rose. Listen, I think you are so gorgeous that you could walk out of the centerfold of a Playboy magazine. I absolutely believe that. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Now, what I want to point out to you is what is not important is what I said. That is not important at all. Is what you said in your self-talk to me. She said any one of a number of things. Well, you're right. Okay. You could have said that. You could have said, well, yeah, but you don't know about the thing under, okay, or whatever. Or you could say, or whatever. I mean, you would evaluate what I said, and what was important was not what I said to you, is what you said to you, and that's what's written on your walls.
Yes.
It's your interpretation of it. See, I can write on your walls and use the words. It's your interpretation of those words that are going to count. Okay. Quite often, though, if somebody said something, our interpretation is pretty clear for both people. Then, anyway, who else has something that's written on your walls? I'm curious. Back here to JoJo.
What came up for me when you said children should be seen and not heard, it's women should be seen and not heard.
Oh, that's a little limit, isn't it?
Big one.
Yeah,
Big one.
Yeah. There's another one called something like the glass ceiling, which, for business purposes, when there's this glass ceiling, and while there certainly seems to be evidence of it, there are some people who ignore it totally. They don't know anything about a glass ceiling, and women go right through it.
Well, when I was growing up, as women my age in this room, you could either be a teacher or a nurse or a mother. I mean, you didn't have any other occupation.
Sure.
So when you went to college, it's like, why do you want to go to college? Well, you're going to either be a teacher or a nurse.
Yeah. And that attitude is tending to change nowadays. Youngsters growing up nowadays aren't really getting that. But the point is, you got that. And that's on your walls in some place.
Right.
And you can logically look at it and say, no, no, no. But emotionally, we respond differently. Okay? Who else? You had something here, Holly, right?
Yeah, one thing I got a lot was don't talk back. If I was going to, maybe somebody was punishing me or something, I couldn't defend myself. And I realized a couple of years ago how in that we're being taught not to be able to say no and not to be able to protect ourselves, and how powerful that has been for me, too.
Yeah, yeah. But I want to ask you, when somebody says don't talk back, what's your interpretation? That means what to you? Don't talk back, like I'm not worth talking back? Or what does that mean?
What first comes up is I'm in trouble if I talk back. So
trouble.
There's
like
a lot of emotion coming.
Maybe a spanking or a verbal abuse or something like that. I mean, there's consequences.
There are definite consequences.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, but let me point out, somebody can have that written on their walls, but it doesn't mean that every time it literally takes place. Like if you and I are having a conversation and you disagree, it doesn't mean you'll never disagree or take another side to it. But if the argument gets heated somehow or other, and I said, well, are you talking back to me? Chances are, your turtle head's going to go back in your shell. It may or may not, but you're going to have that tendency. That's the point.
Right.
Okay. None of these things are absolutely exact, but right here if we can. Go ahead.
I had a really supportive mother, and she would say to me, you are an amazing person, and you're going to do something great with your life. And she said that to me when I was very small.
Yes, and your mother and my mother should meet. I put out on our email, our website a whole series called The Pallets of Possibilities. We're taking that written series and bringing it to life here. But one of my sections was the world's greatest psychotherapist, which is my mother, okay? Because she was constantly amazed at everything that I did. She grew up in a very impoverished circumstance. Her mother was schizophrenic. That's my grandma Effie. Yeah. And always told the kids she didn't want them. And she didn't. She was a single mother. The husband split. She scrubbed floors, etc. And so, you know, my mom really grew up with a very low self-image. And anything that a child of hers did that was even remotely meritorious was astonishing. I grew up as Wonder Boy. I'm honest to God, I grew up as Wonder Boy. I remember one time I came home from about 3rd grade and my mother said, "What'd you do today?" And I said, "We had a spelling bee." "Oh, okay. How'd you do?" I says, "Well, I got 3rd place." But you know, 3rd place is pretty good, but it's not Harvard stuff, all right? She calls her friends, and for the next couple of months, you know, as I'm around the house, people come over and say, "Good speller right here, huh? Spell garage for me." So I go, G-A-R-A-G-E. God, that's good. That's good. But we're laughing about that, but that is very serious. That's written on my walls big time. I grew up, and anything that didn't work out well for me, and you know, I live in this world too, and things don't work out. You know, it's a real world out here. But it wasn't, "Oh my God, I failed," or anything like that. It was, "Oh, I stubbed my toe." Because see, when you launch off of being Wonder Boy or anything like that, that's how the world looks to you. And I did not understand for years how people had problems. I didn't understand that. I really did not. It's a gift. It's an absolute gift to have what you had and what I had. Okay, not everybody has that right. I have some other writing on my walls which is limiting, okay, and I had to deal with it. But my mother was such a foundational thing. Amazing writing on my walls. What else is written on? Who else has something written on your walls? Back here.
Little girls are made of sugar and spice.
Little girls are made of sugar and spice. Which means what?
I guess I wasn't a little girl because I was a tomboy.
You were a tomboy?
And they wanted me to be daddy's little girl, and I never could be.
Oh, and therefore you didn't match up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Now that would be an interesting little writing on your wall, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. I don't quite match up in some fashion because of that writing.
Right.
Okay, yeah, back here to Shamiran? Shamiran.
But this is true. My father had made a big frame. No yelling, no beating, no cursing. Always joy in the house. And every time...
Or else.
and he would really show us every day. It was written and framed by the door.
On the walls. Literally on the wall.
Literally on the wall.
Yeah.
Really framed and everything written.
Yes, marvelous. Back, here to Nate, if we could. Right here.
I learned no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. And what does that mean?
It's not worth anything unless you suffer a bit.
Yes, of course. And a corollary to that is if you're going to do anything worthwhile in this world, you've got to use willpower. You've got to clench your teeth and clench your fist and grit your teeth and do what must be done, right? And work long hours and suffer in your terms in order. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make it. Okay, that's a real limit, especially in the business world. Yeah, good. Thank you. Back here.
I just wanted to say about the no pain, no gain. This EFT, that's where I have it goes against that. Like, if it's not hard, you don't suffer, it can't be valuable.
Yeah, EFT will do that, yes. Yeah. In order for us to really do this well, we've got to take weeks and months and analyze it and blah, 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 blah. We can't just sit there and go tap and all of a sudden I have a cognition change and it wasn't a big deal. It has to happen forever. I mean, there has to be pain and tears and all that. Well, we have a little pain and tears once in a while, but they're relatively modest and brief. But yeah, thank you. Who else has something written on your wall? Right here, Kathy.
Well, my mom always promised that if I climbed up in trees, I would fall out and break my arm.
Oh, she promised you that.
She did, and I always thought that as a kid that was cool. So I would climb the trees, and I never fell out and broke my arm.
Oh, poor Kathy. Well, but does that mean you were a failure at climbing trees?
Well,
Serious question,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah,
I was always disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
However you take that on, see, it's your interpretation of these things, too. There was somebody, right here. Right here's another one from Holly. It's Holly, isn't it? Yeah.
I just thought of a whole other aspect, that my parents tended not to communicate verbally very much.
Sure.
So there's a lot of writing on my walls that comes from what I observed from them.
Of course.
Or the kinds of things that happened to
Yes.
them, and then the assumptions and the interpretations that I made, and then I wrote those on my walls.
Yeah, of course, of course. One could say, and this is semantics, they wrote it on your walls by their behavior or lack of behavior or something. You wrote it on your wall, whatever. It gets written on your walls. And I tend to say people write on your walls or things write on your walls. But in fact, we will write there ourselves.